So about a couple of weeks ago, I was recommended a AI model called Nano Banana. It's part of Gemini and such, but it's basically an image model, and I had basically been really struggling with making the combat stances for my characters in the game. I tried using ChatGPT multiple times. I tried different prompts. I tried different everything, and it just wasn't doing it consistently. Sometimes it was good, but most times it was very inconsistent. So I figured, you know what, there's no harm in trying to give it a go. Now, I already had a paid Google account anyway, so I had the pro plan, which worked out quite well for me. And with enough back and forth, I was able to, basically give some of the portraits of some of the characters that I have in the game. I was able to ask, right, can you make it side on? Can you make sure it's landscape? And can you make sure they're holding this weapon and such? And I was able to eventually make a static stance of them holding the weapon on the side, which is really quite good. Then from there, with enough back and forth, I was able to make it so that that character was then attacking with that weapon. So if it was the main character with a sword, perhaps two-handed, he'd be holding it at the static stance and then swinging it as an attack stance. And that was really good because once I had both of those images made, I could then use both of those as examples and continue to make all of the rest of the images. I think I ended up making about 80 combat stance images over about 2 to 3 days, which is surprisingly quick considering, most things. And actually, Gemini makes images a lot quicker, in my opinion, than ChatGPT, because ChatGPT can get quite laggy, Gemini doesn't. So that's one thing. And that's been really, really quite good because what I've basically done is it made all the images and the characters with backgrounds, which is good because I believe that's what keeps its quality. So what I then went and did is I went and basically edited all the images, flipped them around so they were facing to the left because the enemies are on the right hand side facing to the left. Um, And what I then did is I then removed the background. So I've got like a little, in the image editing tool, there's an AI thing that can remove the background. Sometimes it doesn't do it perfectly, so I need to just adjust it. But for the most part, it's really good. Once I've then done it, the next issue I then had is, okay, well, how can I keep or make shadows for the characters? Because in my old demo, the first one which I released in September, the issue was is that just about all the characters but one didn't have any shadows. And so all the characters look like they're sort of floating as opposed to actually being stood on the actual combat background. And I went back and forth with ChatGPT trying to figure things out. And I basically recommended something called Photopea and a few other things, where basically you can upload a image and you can create a new layer and you can basically use the brush tool, make it somewhat opaque, and you can almost draw like a vague like shadow sort of area, for example, beneath the character, and you can layer it so that that is behind the character instead of on top of them, and looks really good, really really good. I tested it out for one of the characters, put them into the combat scene, and it already looks really well done. So basically, over probably the next few days, I'm going to continue doing that because I'm not done with that yet. And once I've got all of them there, I'll obviously upload all of those to my game and make sure that all of that looks really good. But yeah, I've been blown away by some of effectively the image models and the AI so far, because when I think about how long it must take for people to make and draw and such are like a lot of these characters for these games, I am obviously realizing that obviously AI is definitely a shortcut, right? But again, I just think that it's just so incredible that that actually people can have the possibility to make really quality stuff quite rapidly. And as long as they've got that element of creativity and they can give AI a good enough idea of what they're looking for, that AI can do it. So that's really, really encouraging, and that's definitely sped up, or at least shortened the time in order for me to release my full game, which I'm aiming to do by the end of January. But generally speaking, I think the Nano Banana model is really, really quite good. It's something I'm probably going to continue using for at least for character stances going forward for for example my upcoming games. And I might even change to it for all of my images, perhaps even game art and stuff, but we will have to see. But other than that, I am really, really quite impressed. So let me know your thoughts on this. If you've actually used the sort of the Gemini Nano Banana model, if there are any other image models which you've been using that I don't know about. But so far, I'm really impressed with it. But let me know your thoughts, and I'll chat soon.